What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing us a brand new episode of the 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below, the best gaming related show here on YouTube. And we have a ton of stuff to talk about today, guys, so let's get into it. Our first topic of the day, guys, is going to be about Aches and the Call of Duty League and, everything that revolves pretty much around Aches at this point, who is a player that I would say is considered the bad boy of Call of Duty. But I want to talk about Aches, kind of his start, where he is at this point, and why I think more people need to respect him as just a player and a figure in the Call of Duty scene. So let's talk about it. So guys, Aches, of course, you can kind of go through his biography, and it's really impressive. I mean, he's got a really impressive biography, but he also has some really impressive achievements as well, being one of the only people who have won 2 Call of Duty World Championships. And he got his start in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, but then he started competing in Modern Warfare 2, and you can see that his first major team was Leverage, where he began his partnership with longtime teammate TP. He played with TP for quite some time, guys, and he went into, obviously, pretty much ever since MW2, he's played in pretty much every single Call of Duty title that has come out. Now, he has had some controversy, without a doubt, which I think is part of the reason why he became the bad boy of Call of Duty. But I think that in all reality, guys, I think one of the reasons he has gotten such a bad rap by lots of people and people just, bash him is because of his somewhat rivalry with Optic Gaming back in the day. And he was kind of responsible for taking down those teams quite often. Now, obviously, Optic won their fair share against Aches as well, but he definitely has this reputation of just being a savage, whether we're talking online or at events, wherever, he goes, he pretty much makes his presence known. And I think, guys, that every sport in the world needs that bad boy, that guy who really nobody seems to like. I respect him quite a bit, not only because of his achievements, but really as a captain, as a leader of his team. It seems like he does more with less, in my personal opinion. I think that he will take players who you might not really know much about, or you do, but they're not, of course, the highest tier players, and he ends up elevating their game, which is what a true leader really does. He's gone through, of course, Black Ops, Modern Warfare 3, BO2, Ghost, Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, Infinite Warfare, and, of course, guys, when you look at Black Ops 4 and into Modern Warfare, now where we are with the Call of Duty League, he is the captain of the Los Angeles Guerrillas, who are a team that, I think that they're not a terrible team. I think that they actually, there's been already controversy around this team simply because of the very first match of the Call of Duty League at Minnesota. They ended up, having an unfortunate, event happen, that being that one of the players was using Hardline, which is a banned perk on the Call of Duty the Call of Duty League in Modern Warfare, and so they ended up having their first game taken away from them, and I think ever since then, that has actually thrown them off. Now, I believe in Aches completely to turn everything around and really get this team moving in the right direction again, but I think psychologically that really toys with you significantly when it comes to just any game. You feel like you won a match or you won a map, and then it's taken from you or it's stripped from you. That can really do something to a player. That really can actually just completely and utterly psychologically turn you off, and I think they have not been the same ever since that event happened in the game number 1 in Minnesota. So, but if you look here, guys, I mean, some of his achievements happened, of course, in Black Ops 4, BO2, and then, of course, into Modern Warfare. You can really just see everything that this guy has done. I mean, seriously, I mean, just a lot. If you go to view all, I mean, look at these tournaments that he's been in. I mean, we're talking from, all of these different games. I mean, he's gone very far. He's done very, very well. Now, he was in FaZe for a long time. It was in Complexity for a while. And, of course, Leverage was kind of the first real team that he was a part of. And, you know, when you look at all of everything that he's done, I mean, look at the players he's played with. You got, when he played with Complexity, that's really where he was, you know, really solid. Playing with TB Crim6 Karma. I mean, we'll talk about a real god team. And then he played with Censor, Apathy, and Slasher when they, within FaZe Clan. It's part of Prophecy. He's been a part of a number of different teams. But when you really think about it, guys, I find Aches, even though he's the bad boy of Call of Duty, for a number of reasons. The trash talk, you know, people will say that he might have been the one behind the LA Guerrillas having one of their players using Hardline, which is a banned perk, just to try to get a slight edge over the opponents. And people will say that Aches does that on a regular basis, trying to get a slight edge over opponents to win. He's a very competitive person, and that's why I really like him. Not from the aspect of, you know, having, you know, trying to get an edge over people, but more or less, he is a guy who really motivates his team to be better than they actually are, or really brings the best out of people on his team. Now, outside of his team, it's a whole nother thing. Everybody doesn't really like Aches, and I think it's really unfortunate, but at the same time, he has accepted that he is the bad boy of Call of Duty. He's accepted it. Like, he's totally cool with being that guy. And I would love to have Aches on the show at some point to talk about it, because this is a guy who I think is one of the best in the world to this day, and I believe he's one of the greatest of all time when it comes to Call of Duty. He's just that guy. He's that good. He's had so much success over the years. One of the only people to have 2 rings in the Call of Duty realm as far as world championships go, and it doesn't look like he's done yet. Now, maybe this year, of course, we don't know how good the LA Guerrillas are going to be this year, but at the same time, Aches is in my opinion, a motivator and a true leader of teams that he's been in. His resume speaks for itself. But what do you guys think about Aches? Do you guys like Aches? Do you love his mentality of just, you know, being that bad boy in the Call of Duty scene and accepting his role there? What do you guys think about him? Let me know in the comment section below. Our next topic is going to be about a game in which we haven't talked about much on the YouTube channel up to this point. And it's a game, guys, that I believe is the #1 fighting game in the world. And I don't think there's really any debate about it. I mean, you could, of course, argue maybe Street Fighter 5 or maybe even Tekken 7. But Super Smash Brothers is, without a doubt, pretty much the biggest fighting game. I think for a number of reasons, guys. Not only is Nintendo very good about promoting their product or promoting, you know, a lot of their games and such, and people just in general, young and older, thoroughly enjoy the, you know, Mario games, the Super, you know, Smash at this point. You know, Smash is like an absolute phenomenon in the fighting scene. And I think just when you talk about Nintendo games, you know, it's there's so much brand recognition behind Smash at this point. But ultimately, guys, I think that Smash is a game in which there's a real good viewership aspect to it. Whether you're talking about just watching someone stream the game on Twitch, like casually, or if you're watching an actual tournament of the best in the world going at it at the highest level of Smash, it's very entertaining. It's exciting. People just, you know, really seem to enjoy it, and it's very family friendly overall. So what I want to talk about in this topic is Smash Brothers 2 and the possibility of it, and will we see, you know, Smash 2 at some point in the future, or is Mario, or should I say Nintendo, going to just continue making, you know, updates for Super Mario Smash Brothers? So let's talk about that, guys. I think that when we talk about all of the other games out there in the fighting genre, you look at Tekken, you look at Street Fighter, you look at Mortal Kombat, you look at all of these different games, and the list will continue. I mean, if you want to continue on with Dragon Ball, Soul Calibur, all these different fighting games, guys, one thing that they all have in common is that there's really more than just one of them. And there are multiple iterations of these games and multiple, expansions or just continuations of these games. And you guys all know that my favorite fighting game is Mortal Kombat. I absolutely love Mortal Kombat, and there's been 11 Mortal Kombats up to this point. So Smash is a game in which I believe there very well may be another one. Now, obviously, Nintendo could take the approach of Riot Games with League of Legends. They could say, look, we've got a great product here with Smash. Maybe we don't need to necessarily make a second one. We can just continue what we got here. We got something special, something that people love. We don't necessarily need to, update the graphics, or we just got to update just the game in general and continue adding new characters that are playable to all of our players, so on and so forth. So I think that Nintendo is kind of in an interesting position right now. They obviously own the fighting genre right now. They're kind of like the biggest title. Now, I know that Street Fighter most likely is going to be getting a 6th game here, probably announced, I would assume, this year. And then who knows what other games are going to get announced, that being like a Tekken 8 or, Soul Calibur 7. Obviously, Mortal Kombat didn't come out too long ago, so I wouldn't expect a new Mortal Kombat for a little bit, but like another Injustice. There's a number of other titles that are going to continue, right? And I'm not saying that that's going to take a lot of those players away from Smash, but here's the thing. Every time a new game comes out in a specific genre, so let's just say the fighting genre, right? Since we're talking about that as it is. Anytime a new game comes out in the fighting genre, there's going to be guys who play Smash. Maybe they're the ones who, the main people or just casual gamers who play Smash on a regular basis. But whenever a new fighting game comes out, they at least give it a try. And what ends up happening there is there's always an opportunity for that new game that just came out to take away players from Smash. Now, obviously, you're taking a gamble with it, but at the same time, Smash has such good brand recognition. So I don't think that they would necessarily need to be worried about losing players to some of these other franchises that have been around for a long time. However, it's definitely something you have to consider. You got to think to yourself, when Street Fighter 6 comes out, I guarantee you a lot of people from Smash are at least going to give it a try. And that gives the opportunity for those players to say to themselves, you know what, let's just say Street Fighter 6 is absolutely incredible. It gives that possibility that maybe they will move on from Smash, or at least, Smash being their main game and moving over to like Street Fighter, for example, and making that their main game. You just never know. So that leads me to why I think that there will be a Smash 2 at some point. It might not be really very soon. It might be in the next few years, because it seems like Smash, they're consistently adding new characters, playable characters. And I think if they continue doing that, it's going to keep bringing those players back, whether that's new maps or whether it's new characters. I'm just saying that I do believe that a Smash 2 is definitely something that Nintendo is probably thinking of at this point, because it's pretty much one of their biggest franchises, at least at this point. So I would have to say that they are definitely looking at that. And what I would say, guys, is we can probably expect maybe an announcement for it. Most likely not this year. I would assume maybe next year. So in 2021, we may see an announcement for Super Mario Smash Bros. 2. And then moving into, of course, 2022 is probably when it would release. But I would love to hear from all of you guys. What do you guys think about Super Smash Brothers? And do you guys want to see a Super Smash Brothers 2 announced at some point in the future? Because at this point, where is a Smash 2? Well, I just don't think that it's really being worked on as of yet. Nintendo is, still making a lot off of Smash 1. So why, try to change something if it's not completely broken? But I think there would definitely be a huge audience that would love to see a Smash 2. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and let's have a real conversation about it. Our next topic is going to be about Prototype, a game that we've talked about a couple of times now on the YouTube channel, but I want to talk about Prototype 3 in particular. Where is this game, guys? And do we think that Prototype 3 will at some point be greenlit for all of us? Because if you had played Prototype 1 or the second one, especially the first one, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say that this was a game that was absolutely, really felt transcendent at the time. It felt like somewhat like an Assassin's Creed, but with really cool abilities, and it kind of felt like a little bit of Infamous as well. Well, in a petition that obviously closed a long time ago, Prototype 3, guys, I did have a petition that was up at one point in time from a guy, and this petition had over 5,000 supporters to Activision to make Prototype 3 happen. And Axidemus, who started the petition to Activision, he said the following: "Hello, as a person who has played Prototype and Prototype 2, I was fascinated by the gameplay and the storyline, but the ending of Prototype 2 was misleading as the main character of Prototype, Alex Mercer, died. Most of the people who played this game weren't happy for this ending. Also, the creators Radical Entertainment was shut down in 2012 by Activision. Most of the Prototype fans want another franchise, and the only company who can make it happen is Activision. That's why we all together request to start developing Prototype 3. So, look, here's the thing. Activision obviously is mainly focused at this point, solely focused essentially on Call of Duty, making Call of Duty the best and biggest franchise out there in the world. So that's a little bit of a problem. Now, I would like to see Activision start kind of bringing back a lot of their games that they own, the IPs that they own, like Prototype, like Guitar Hero. Obviously, they kind of brought back Spyro, which was really cool. There's a lot of games that Activision does own, but they are really focused, it seems, specifically on Call of Duty because that's their juggernaut of a game. I would say at some point or another we could see a Prototype 3. Here's the problem, though. The first Prototype did really well, but the second Prototype did not meet the expectations as far as when we talk about how much the company made, that being Activision. And so they weren't very happy with Prototype 2's just the financially how much they made off of it. I'll tell you what happened in my opinion, guys, when it comes to Prototype. I really think that when they got away from Alex Mercer in Prototype 1, I feel like he was the reason why the franchise was actually, I should say the game was actually could really take a leaps and bounds. When we got the new character in Prototype 2, I forget his name off the top of my head, that's where it kind of lost me and a lot of other people in Prototype as far as the community is concerned. Alex Mercer was really cool, and I think that we would have loved to see him continue being the face of that franchise. Now, it kind of was... I really think Prototype could have coexisted, obviously, with all these other games that are out there, especially games similar to, like, Assassin's Creed. I mean, Prototype could have been easily within that same realm, maybe not quite as big as Assassin's Creed, because the story wasn't quite as strong, but still, it could have existed in today's gaming. It's hard to say, guys. I think at the time when you had Assassin's Creed, Prototype, and Infamous, all three of those games were popular at the time. But then, of course, over time, things change. And I think Prototype 2 really hurt the franchise in a major way. And I think it really started off with not being able to play as Alex Mercer. Now, what I will say is this. There's definitely a possibility that it could happen. Where is it at this point? I don't think it's being developed right now. I highly doubt it because Activision is mainly working on Call of Duty at this point and Call of Duty Mobile. So I would say right now they are focused on that. They're also focused on, helping out Blizzard doing what it is Blizzard's doing. So if a Prototype were to come out, guys, I would say we're still probably a decent ways off from the game coming out. Because right now, where is it? I think it's in a limbo state. It's just not, it's just laying dormant. It's not doing anything right now. But I'm sure it's something that at some point someone at Activision may say, hey, this could be a good idea to kind of reboot the Prototype franchise, and I think a lot of us would be really excited about that because I absolutely loved Prototype 1. It was incredible. It was it was one of my favorite games that year that it came out, and I would love to see a continuation. I think a reboot would be nice. Someone kind of like Alex Mercer, because he even looked kind of like an assassin from Assassin's Creed, just obviously with all the crazy cool abilities. So something like maybe another Mercer, like Alex had a brother or something along those lines, that would be really cool. And we kind of see where the narratives go from there. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Where is Prototype in your opinion? This is my thoughts. I definitely want to hear yours. Let me know in the comment section below. Our next topic is going to be about Tekken and the future of the Tekken franchise. Obviously, guys, I've gone really into fighting games and just the fighting game genre. I think it's an incredible genre and it really intrigues me. Well, I want to talk about the future of Tekken because this is a game that released a couple of years ago and we're kind of wondering, what's the future look like for this franchise because I absolutely loved Tekken 7. I think it's really cool. I'm not very good at it, but I absolutely love watching the pros play and other people play as well. I just think it's a really great franchise. Well, in an article that was written by Gaming Scan, and Thomas Bardwell wrote this article about Tekken 8 and kind of everything we know so far about this game as far as like the release date, some news, some rumors. So let's talk about it. The Tekken name is intrinsic to the fighting game genre and sits comfortably alongside illustrious alumni such as Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. But recent offerings from developer Bandai Namco have paled in comparison to seminal titles like Tekken 2 and Tekken 3. Guys, I don't date back all the way to Tekken 2 and 3. I came more so recently into Tekken and watching it and such. So Tekken 7 I watched a little bit and Tekken, obviously Tekken 7 and then Tekken 6 is kind of where I kind of got started on it and started really watching and kind of keeping track of it. I would say that I think Tekken 7 is great in my opinion. Now, I don't know how as far as if it pales in comparison to the first few Tekken titles, that's kind of I just wouldn't really have much of a opinion on that. With the release of the lukewarm Tekken 7 now dating back to June of 2017, attentions are turning to the next expected entry in the series, Tekken 8, as a source of redemption and a return to form for the franchise. Will Tekken 8 live up to expectations and reinstate Tekken as a household name among gamers? Although there's a striking lack of official details surrounding Tekken 8, we've done the heavy lifting for you and gathered everything known so far about the game. So the release date, Bandai Namco has yet to announce or reveal Tekken 8 officially. Accordingly, no release date is available at the current time. In many ways, fighting games are the gift that keeps on giving. Releasing a new game doesn't involve the same amount or type of work that goes into, say, an original action-adventure IP. Previous entries have established the basic mechanics, aesthetic, and foundational story, making work on a subsequent entry a rather straightforward operation relative to traditional game development cycles. With this in mind, coupled with the fact that the series is a long-running staple of the Japanese publisher's catalog, and Tekken 7 has sold over 3 million copies worldwide since release, we can more or less guarantee Tekken 8 at some point in the future. Tekken is so entrenched as a gaming brand that the mediocre critical response to Tekken 7 has had little to no impact on sales. So here's what I'll say about that, guys, is that it's a long-running staple, and a lot of these games really are when you really look at the grand scope of things. That being said, I would think, guys, that we're going to get a Tekken announcement potentially this year, or I would say probably at the latest next year, in my personal opinion. At least get an announcement, and it'll probably come out a year after it gets announced. Maybe it'll come out a little bit sooner than that. A lot of times, though, with these types of games, you can kind of look at the past and see, when the most recent title was released, and, or like kind of you can even go back in time and see how much time was in between each game as they got released. So I would say that Tekken 8 is somewhere, it's probably right around the corner. So Nowadays, Bandai Namco releases Tekken games at a much slower rate compared to the halcyon days of the late 1990s, early 2000s, when developer unleashed 6 Tekken games, and arguably the best in the series, in the space of 10 years between 1994 and 2004. Since then, Bandai Namco has staggered mainline game releases to make way for spin-offs and questionable crossovers with the likes of Pokemon. For example, there was a 6-year gap between Tekken 6 and Tekken 7. If we use this law as a frame of reference, Tekken 8 could release anytime between now and 2023. So I agree with that. I would say that we're probably either we could see an announcement this year or potentially next year, and then it'll probably come out a year or so after that. So a trailer, obviously, guys, we have no trailer for Tekken 8. But that being said, I would assume, like we were just mentioning, that there will probably be a trailer. I mean, with obviously the announcement, probably either this year or next year is kind of what we could probably look at. Now, as far as the news is concerned, no news is good news, as they say, but in this case, there's a palpable shortage of news about Tekken 8. Bandai Namco seems focused on releasing a steady flow of Season Pass DLC content instead, the latest dropping as recently as December 2018 with new characters and balance adjustments. Clutching at straws, news of Tekken Mobile releasing in spring 2018 may be a good sign, with Bandai Namco now able to direct more resources towards the development of Tekken 8. Here's the other thing, though, guys. I think that one thing that we need to really keep in consideration here is that most likely we're going to see an announcement from the Street Fighter world of a Street Fighter 6. We're probably also going to, potentially see other, big titles getting some announcements as well. Now, I don't know about Mortal Kombat because that came out, not too long ago, but when you talk about the Juggernaut games, who knows? Could we see a Smash 2? Super Smash Brothers is something that we could see as well. And I know we talked about that earlier in the show, but that's something that we could see maybe an announcement for at some point in the future. So when Bandai Namco is looking at when they need to release these games, you kind of are going to want to think about it sooner rather than later, because when there's more competition, say Street Fighter 6, let's say a Mortal Kombat 12, a Smash 2, a lot of those players of Tekken are going to at least try those games out. So they have to think about that as well. They don't want to lose what they've got, and they've got something really special with Tekken. So obviously I think they need to think about that, and knowing that, some of their big updates haven't happened, in the very recent future, kind of tells me that they may be really looking at a Tekken 8 at this point. Now, some of the rumors. Apart from fruitless exercises in conjuncture over on Reddit, no significant rumors surrounding Tekken 8 have emerged. The focus is generally on if and how Heihachi may come back from the dead in Tekken 8, and how the teaser at the end of Tekken 7 may play out with Jin having to battle Kazuya. Fans feel that Heihachi is such a defining feature of Tekken's convoluted lore that removing him is inconceivable. Theories gravitate towards his reincarnation in devil or angel form, with his mission to kill off the remaining carriers of the devil gene. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know, guys. I'm not super familiar with all the lore of Tekken, but nonetheless, I think that they are going to have to, absolutely, without any doubt, kind of continue this, especially, because there's a lot of fans out there that really want to see the continuation. And so I think what Bandai Namco, what they're doing really well right now is kind of keeping things under wraps. They don't want anything to leak out, at least at this point, and they're waiting for the perfect opportunity to announce a Tekken 8. Who knows? Could they announce it alongside Street Fighter 5 or Street Fighter 6? That would be really interesting. Tekken 8 is more or less guaranteed if the ongoing commercial success of the franchise is enough to nudge Bandai Namco towards pursuing the series. The open-ended finale to Tekken 7 sets up the narrative for a future game as well. There is, however, a long wait before we get the official word, and even longer before Bandai Namco communicate a firm release date. So, look, I'm going to say this, guys. Tekken 8 is definitely coming. Where is it right now? I think it's probably in very early development, or it's actually in, mid-development, and we may be getting a announcement, whether that be this year or next year. So we could be seeing something between 2020 and 2021 for Tekken 8. If they were smart, they would do that. I don't think that they should wait until like 2023, especially with all the other competition in the fighting genre. And then on top of that, guys, I think that a Tekken 8 would do very well, in my opinion. I think it really would. It's one of the staples, of course, of the fighting genre. Let me know what you guys think, though. Do you think a Tekken 8 is going to be coming out in the foreseeable future, or do you think that they need to just stick with Tekken 7 for a while and just keep updating that game? Let me know what you guys think, and let's have a real conversation about it. Our next topic is going to be about Crysis 4, a topic that we've been talking about on the channel now a few times, because Crysis, guys, is very close to myself. I really enjoyed this franchise and I want to see the continuation of it. Well, in today's topic, we're going to be talking about Crysis 4 and everything we know so far about the game, which is very limited information, guys, because it all comes down to if Crytek is going to announce it at some point in the future, because obviously all hands are on deck with Hunt Showdown, which is, of course, the big game for Crytek, or are they all on that game? It's hard to say, but let's talk about it. So, guys, this was a blog that I found pretty interesting from a guy named G-Man on game playing. And almost 3 years later, there was a grain of information about Crysis 4. Perhaps the game's name will be different. Crytek does not hurry to reveal all the details of the project, and insiders are predicting a new life for CryEngine. According to one reliable source, Crysis 4 will be shown on E3 2017, which obviously never happened, guys. They will do it together with the presentation of the new version of CryEngine. So yeah, that obviously didn't happen. This article was written, and this blog was written a long time ago. However, according to one reliable source, Crysis, also the insider suggested that perhaps the game will tell the story for many years after Crysis 3, when humanity has already got through the aliens' invasion. This is one of the several scenarios that were previously available to a certain circle of individuals. Perhaps Crytek believes that continuing the series will be the most profitable decision. We very much hope for it. So I got to agree that, a lot of us are obviously, certainly, excited about this. If there's any silver lining, guys, even though obviously this was a blog that was written a long time ago, it's the fact that, okay, Crytek was working on Hunt Showdown, which is a fantastic game, by the way. You guys should definitely check it out if you had not already. But obviously there's been talk for years about Crysis and the continuation of it. I think Crytek wanted to work on something different first for a little while, which would be Hunt Showdown, and I think the next iteration could very well be Crysis 4. So there is no exact release date, but some sources claim that the game will be released in 2019. Another thing that never happened, guys. It will be the most high-tech game for PC and consoles of a new generation. So, okay, if we look at this from if you kind of look at this from a broad scope, right? Obviously, it didn't come out. It wasn't announced at 2017 E3, wasn't announced at 2018, wasn't announced at 2019. And so now we're in 2020. So what are we looking at here? Where could this story be going? And, what's the potential? Well, a lot of the potential from what Crytek was talking about when they were talking about a Crysis 4, they specifically said that they don't think that they would actually name the game Crysis 4. It would be a free-to-play Crysis game, which I think would be absolutely huge. When you look at all the other free-to-play games out there, we're talking Apex Legends, Fortnite. When we talk about first-person shooters, you're mainly talking Apex, right? And so I think a Crysis reboot, like a soft reboot, free-to-play game, doesn't necessarily have to have Battle Royale, but I think that would be kind of cool too. But if it had like a multiplayer focus as well as even a story focus as well, kind of a soft reboot focus of story, and then on top of that like a BR, man, you're talking something that could be really special. Here's the point though, guys. There's not a lot of information yet about Crysis, But at this point, the Crytek has talked about it on and off over the years. They've talked about it. I believe personally that they are at this point probably working on it at the very beginning stages of a Crysis 4. That's what they're kind of looking at, because really when you think about it, as far as articles are concerned and all of that, there's not a ton of information about a Crysis 4. There just isn't. Crytek does a really good job about keeping a lid on everything, any kinds of leaks and things of that nature. So I believe personally, guys, that we're going to be seeing most likely an announcement for Crysis 4 or whatever the Crysis reboot would be called, potentially in 2020. But more likely 2021 or 2022, and then we probably would see the game itself a couple of years later. But let me know what you guys all think. Would you want to see a Crysis 4 or a Crysis Soft reboot that would also be free to play? What do you guys think about that? Let's have a real conversation about it. Our last topic of the day, guys, is going to be talking about Apex Legends and Fortnite, the two juggernauts of the Battle Royale genre. And these two going head-to-head, long-term, what are we going to see? So let's talk about that. Guys, when Fortnite came out, obviously it became a global phenomenon, right? In the third-person shooter genre, it just blew up, right? I mean, you had massive amounts of celebrities playing the game, and just so many content creators and streamers were, absolutely blew up from this game. Then there was a game that came out that really became the true competition to Fortnite when it comes to Battle Royale. And we had other games, right? You had PUBG, you had, Call of Duty Blackout. We've had other games, Radical Heights, and, there's been a number of Battle Royales that have tried to compete against Fortnite, but nothing really did that until Apex Legends. A free-to-play, first-person shooter that really was claiming to be the Battle Royale game for those who love first-person shooters. So they kind of accepted their role, but at the same time, they were trying to take over the Battle Royale genre. And guess what, guys? They were doing it for a while. For a while, Apex Legends was the top dog. Now, Fortnite obviously they were trying to figure out what they needed to do. And because Apex was kind of innovating in a way in which Fortnite was not. They, obviously incorporated seasons and things of that nature. And so they also incorporated the respawn system within, the Battle Royale genre, where if you died, obviously you could have a teammate could actually revive you. And so Fortnite kind of copied that. Everybody kind of tried to copy Fortnite, and then Fortnite had to kind of adjust what their thinking was, and they started doing things that Apex was doing. But anyways, it's been a back and forth battle, right? Here's what really happened, though, I believe. Because Apex, I think, could have really surpassed Fortnite in a major way had Shroud, of course, guys, a massive Twitch streamer who now is a Mixer streamer. But this guy was streaming this game and was incredible at Apex Legends. And so lots of people were gravitating to watching his, the streams and things of that nature. And he was blowing up. I mean, we're talking this guy was becoming like that second guy to Ninja, who of course blew up from Fortnite. And the question was is Shroud going to be the Ninja of Apex Legends? Like, is he going to blow up to just absolutely explode, right? Well, what ended up happening was Shroud was gaining every single day on Ninja. And then all of a sudden, he got hurt in an accident, and Shroud ended up having to go to the hospital, and he was out of commission. It was like on his hand, out of commission for a while. I will always say, I believe this full-heartedly, and you guys will have to tell me what you think about it, that was the turning point in this battle between Apex and Fortnite. His hiatus from Apex gave Fortnite that opportunity to continue to, dominate the Battle Royale genre. Had Shroud never got injured, I really think it could be very different now. Because Apex was just, I mean, it was so big. I mean, and he was growing astronomically. It's a really unfortunate thing what happened with Shroud. And then here's the other thing is when Shroud did come back, he didn't play Apex that much anymore, when I feel like he could have really just continued to be he's one of the biggest streamers out there, period, as it is. But man, it could have been so different, I feel. At this point, Fortnite still owns the Battle Royale genre. Apex isn't, far behind, but Fortnite is still the top dog in Battle Royale. Fortnite has been losing numbers. There's no doubt about it. As far as viewership's concerned, all of those things, it has gone down, okay? It was a matter of time until it all went down at some point, right? It's still one of the top, streamed games out there. It's one of the top viewed games out there, but it has gone down in Fortnite standards. So what needs to happen, with these two franchises? I think it's a pretty loaded question, because I think there's a lot that both developers need to do, because Fortnite is so different from what it once was with the map and everything, and I think even Apex is kind of like that as well. I think both games were trying so hard to kind of evolve the map and all of that, that it almost has lost touch with what has made the game so great, or those games so great. What I'm going to say about Fortnite in particular, and even Apex, is my personal belief is that they need to have other game modes. And I'm not talking game modes within Battle Royale, like having separate maps, like smaller maps where you can have team deathmatch, or you can have search and destroy. And I know they have search and destroy in Fortnite, but add some other game modes, like no building. Like there's no building whatsoever. Like it's all just boots on the ground, and everybody is, on the same playing field. It's all about, just point and shoot, right? Those are like evolving those types of game modes where there's not, chug jugs and things of that nature, where it's just simply, a PvP or a team versus team. I think that would be absolutely incredible, because here's why. Guys like myself who haven't played the game or like been keeping up with things, if we want to play the game casually and you get on there, you're going to get shredded by players on there, because there's no real like skill-based matchmaking. You get into a lobby with a bunch of other players who are way better at building than you, and building is the main aspect of Fortnite, so you get completely shredded, right? It's so quickly, and that's just not fun. That's why I think Fortnite is slowly but surely kind of going downhill. Apex is starting to have that problem as well. There's a skill gap. Fortnite, the skill gap is unbelievable. I mean, astronomical. It reminds me of like StarCraft. Especially, it's like StarCraft with no skill-based matchmaking. Like not, and so that being said, in my opinion, that's what Fortnite needs to do. And I think Apex needs to do the same thing. Can you imagine Apex Legends, which it would basically be like Titanfall, where you have team versus team, and it's on a small map. It's not like, you could even have it on the main map and you don't like drop in or anything. But in my eyes, I'm thinking like add some maps, add some other game modes. So when people don't want to do the BR mode, they can do other stuff within the game. And I know that, Apex and Fortnite have added other game modes, but it's all on the same map. It's all, the same map. It's all, and I know Fortnite's added creative and they've added other things, but I think they got to consistently involve in that way, not necessarily changing the map up, more so adding new maps, smaller maps, new game modes, no building. Apex, I mean, the same kind of thing, adding new game modes and all of that, but on like smaller maps. Make, really build this thing out. Like they're making the money, why not do that to keep bringing people back, and casual gamers like myself coming into the game who want to, just play for fun. That's what I would love to see out of both of these games. But at this point, guys, the point of this is that Fortnite is above Apex at this point. But I think the Battle Royale genre, over time, we're going to see everything kind of start leveling out. You're going to see all these games are still competing with one another, but it's not going to be on a completely blown up scale like with what we saw with Fortnite. But let me know what you guys think. Is Fortnite greater than Apex, or is Apex greater than Fortnite? Or what would you guys like to see out of these games as far as the future is concerned? Do you guys want to see additions or, subtractions to certain things? What do you guys want to see and hopefully get updates on? Because you guys heard from me. What do I want? What do you guys want? That's the big thing. Let me know, and let's have a real conversation about it. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.